but not giving you the real experience that you are going to meet in the world there. So with Amdari, I think we are at the right place, and we're going to move with you, with other people. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
I appreciate. Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the right place at Dario, where will help you guys navigate this, problems around, getting into the industry, basically. So yeah, it's going to be a fun time. It's also going to be an interesting topic. So yeah, just sit tight and while we go through it. Yeah, great to hear from you, Francis. We have Raj. Raj, how are you doing today? Can you hear us, Raj?
Yeah, I can. I'm fine. Thank you for asking.
Oh, great, 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 good.
Yeah,
Yeah, just quite a few people. So we'll be sure that everyone is quite active before we get started. Yusuf, how's it going? Yusuf, can you hear us, Yusuf? Okay, thank you, sir. Yeah, we have one other person. Um, we have
Hi,
Maya.
good evening.
Maya, did I pronounce that correct? Is it Maya or May? How's that pronounced?
It's May.
Oh, it's May. Apologies for that. How are you doing today, May?
I'm good, thank you. My first time here. So yeah, looking forward to hear what you guys have to say. Um, I've got like a master's in data science. But I'm just trying
Oh,
to see
interesting.
like how to navigate this whole industry. I don't know if I want to stay in the arena or move away into something more like project management or something around that. So I'm just here to like listen and see, basically.
Basically, yeah. So, I mean, yeah, appreciate that you're here. Yeah, trust me, would have to deep dive into a lot of
Like,
topics around, getting in. And yeah, it's also good to hear that you have a master's in data science.
yeah, yeah, looking forward to it. Thank you.
Yeah, great, great. Nice hearing from you. Tommy Lola, I think I'll take one more person, then we'll get started. Tommy Lola, how are you doing today? Can you hear us?
Yes, I can. Hi. Good evening. I'm actually just stepping in on behalf of my husband. He's away
Interesting.
from at work right now, and he might not really be able to connect. So I felt like let me step in and get a few points, and I'll relate all the informations back then. He actually studied data science also. He's a self-taught data analyst back in Nigeria, but
Interesting.
coming into the UK, graduated with distinction in data science. He's been trying to navigate into that industry. He has tried a couple of applications on NHS and nothing is forthcoming. Of course, there is that gap of UK work experience, and we are just trying to see what the options are, considering the time limit we have left on our visa and everything like that. So yeah, I'm just
Yeah.
stepping in on behalf of my husband. Yeah.
Okay. Amazing. That sounds fantastic. And yeah, yeah, absolutely. Just like I mentioned to Francis, you're at the right place. And yeah, hopefully we get one or two tips around that. And, it's going to be quite insightful, I promise. Okay. Yeah, good to have everyone here on the call. Just so we don't take too much of our time, let's get started. It's a very interesting topic. And yeah, I know for most of us, we've seen it on our screen already. Landed data role in the UK, right? And also, we'll be talking about some of the UK's hottest data roles now, basically. Yeah, so I'm here on the call actually to give you guys the step by step, you know, work program or work experience program that will get you ready, to land that data role in the UK, basically. So I know for most of us right here, we've had, several problems or issues around landing a role, especially for those who have a gap of, limited UK experience, and for probably those who are trying to transition from a particular industry to data. All of these different individuals are quite going to be covered here. So, yeah. So it says stop applying for data jobs in the UK and get ignored. I know that's a pain point for most of us here. Keep applying for jobs, and we get ignored, right? And there's actually a reason for that, right? So some of the hidden reasons are that 90% of skilled data professionals, like, never get to the interview stage. Most times we get to apply for these jobs and, we don't get shortlisted. I know it's a great problem going on, but yeah, that's why we're here to deep dive into these various steps that you need to take in order for you to land this road, basically, right? So before I get started, I would like you guys to meet me, right? Meet Mohammed. My name is Mohammed Yakini, and yeah, I'm a senior machine learning and big data specialist with Amdari. I have 6+ years experience actually designing machine learning pipelines, for top leading fintechs, um, company across, Africa and as well in the UK, basically. And over the time of my career, I've helped and guided over 200 plus professionals, and coached them as well to land, UK roles, basically, right? Quite a bit details about some of the things I do professionally. And I know this might resonate with, some of you who have, dealt with some of the technical stuff. I have experience around most of the data science tools like TensorFlow, some of the cloud platforms like AWS, and these are basically tools that are mostly used across UK, in those companies, organizations, as we speak, right? So yeah, this is not just me having 6+ years experience, but I've had a track record of, coaching close to 200 professionals to land their role. And yeah, I keep helping international, consultants or international, applicants to be able to get, visa sponsorship roles, basically. So this is who I am, Mohammed, and today I'll be walking you guys through, the step-by-step process, work experience program that actually gets you that particular job, basically, right? So before we dive into what those 12 step process are, basically, I would like to do a quick survey of, just to be sure that we have the right people on the call. I know we spoke with Francis, spoke with Tommy earlier, and they did talk about how they are quite excited about getting those tips and tricks to get them those jobs, right? But just to do another general assessment to everyone on the call, just to be sure if this masterclass is actually for you, right? And yeah, I'd like to get a thumbs up or, maybe a reaction if, you're among the different categories of people I'm about to mention, right? So, anyone on the call, is anyone here struggling with UK job applications? Probably you have a bit of experience in data, but most times when you get to, I see somebody, Francis, already. Most times when you get to apply for jobs, you get ignored and you don't know why, right? Just Francis. Anybody else on the call who's struggling with this? Okay. Yeah, Chukwuemeka. Interesting. Okay. Yeah, Ezequiel as well. Francis, Chukwuemeka. Interesting. Sounds like image. Yeah. So, do we have any other person on the call who probably needs visa sponsorship? Maybe due to timeline of their stay in the UK currently, and are kind of struggling to get like those employers to sponsor them. Oh, Tommy. Tommy, I see a lot of thumbs ups from you. How's it going with that?
Okay, yeah. We actually on post study at the moment, and it's gonna expire late next year. So I think we have like about 16, 17 months left, and It might look like a long time, but no, it's not. So yeah.
It's not actually, yeah. And that's why we at Amdari here, we actually, come, at the forefront to help you, navigate those issues. And yeah, hopefully you do get a visa sponsorship job, before that time elapses to me. Okay. So yeah, quite a number of people, actually struggling to get visa sponsorship jobs. Do we have anybody else on the call who, is not among all of these categories, right? They are not struggling with visa sponsorship job, they are not struggling with any job application, but they are just getting started, right? They have zero UK work experience. I know there's this saying of, oh, entry level is difficult, it's difficult to get, jobs. Yeah, how do I get this experience and all of this? Yeah, Fedora, okay, great. Then lastly, we have, those set of people that, I don't know, maybe you're tired of applying, right? You're tired of applying for jobs. You've sent in a lot of applications, right? Heritage, you have no UK experience. Yeah, that's why we are here. I'm there to give you that experience. So stick with us while I walk you through how we'll help you navigate that, basically heritage. Okay. So yeah, for some of us, we might, have done all of the things that we think, would work, and we've been applying and we don't get um, called for interviews, like constant rejections. And I know it's quite heartbreaking and could be an emotional thing for most of us where we keep applying for jobs and we don't get responses. Heritage, that's quite interesting. You have 10 years plus experience. Oh, um, interesting. Okay. Yeah, so now we're sure that we have the right set of people on this call, and yeah, this particular walkthrough is going to be quite helpful for most of us here. So before we dive into this, I would like to share some painful realities, right? And this is something I like reiterating, so that it sticks with us, right? So that we understand what the brutal truth is about, job applications in general, visa sponsorship jobs in general, basically, right? So what's really happening, right? I know some of us did a thumbs up earlier when I did mention, oh, you need a visa sponsorship job or you don't have UK experience, what happens? Like, what's really happening? For some of us, we might be wondering, well, why are my applications not being, accepted? Why am I not getting this job, right? So what's really happening at one of these following, or the following, right? You might be applying to 100+ jobs, right? And sometimes you do not get response, or at most, you get just 2 response, right? And probably those response might not mean, land you any interviews first place. It could also be that some of the UK employers skip your CV in probably 6 seconds, right? You submit an application, your CV don't even get to the hiring manager or the recruiter or the employer, right? These are things that are actually happening. These are things that are the reason why it's quite difficult to get that role. And sometimes you have like less qualified candidates that are getting these interviews, while you are getting ignored. And just like Heritage mentioned, I have 10 years experience, but it's quite difficult to navigate the whole fact that employers might be demanding for UK experience, and you do not know how to convert your experience, 10 years experience in Nigeria to, something that the UK employer can see and say, oh, hey, we want Heritage in our organization, right? And trust me, there are lots of people that even have less years of experience, as low as a year, 2 years experience, that gets this job. And while someone like Heritage is struggling to get a job. So less qualified candidates actually get interviews, while some of us might get ignored, right? Then lastly, I would say the whole idea of getting a visa sponsored job feels like very, very impossible. You know, it's never ending. It's almost like, oh, nobody's going to sponsor me. What am I doing wrong? And all of this. So these are the brutal truths around some of the issues or some of the reasons why we don't land these jobs or why we don't even land interviews in the first place, right? And yeah, I do understand the pain, right? But something is quite shocking that we have a lot of jobs available. So it's not a case of the jobs available versus the workforce, ratio. It's a case of there are jobs, but the workforce are not actually being seen by those jobs, right? But you can access those jobs. Why can't you access those jobs? These are things we'll be discussing as we move forward, right? There's a survey that actually says like just 12% of candidates, get those jobs. And why? Why is it that just 12% of people get those jobs? We'll see the reason why, right? Yeah. So let's get into it. Right. So before we do talk about those actionable steps that we need to take, right, or the hidden truths behind these rejections, right, I would like us to explore, some of the high demand roles, we have in data today. I know we've heard about data a lot. It's everywhere. It's on the news. It's on LinkedIn. You almost don't go anywhere these days without hearing things like, oh, there's AI engineering, there's large language models, there's AI agents, agentic workflow, and the new hot one, this month is something around automation. Everybody's automating everything, right? We have people automating even comments on LinkedIn, people automating posts, people as far as automating the entire job application process, right? From tweaking their resumes to following up with the hiring team to, sending follow-up emails or cold emails to potential recruiters, and all of those brutal steps that seems quite tedious. A lot of people are trying to automate these stuffs, now. So it's crazy. The data space is like booming, right? But for us not to forget where we are trying to get to, it's quite important to you understand what they are aiming at, right? And this is why we're exploring some of the high demand roles, right? So one of the high demand roles today, we have data analytics, right? I know we've heard of data analytics here and there, and currently today in the UK, data analytics, has a median salary of 47K pounds, right? So the proper data analytics role, gives you that amount of money, basically. But it quite depends on the industry and as well as location as well, right? And I know data analytics seems like a very generic term, but within that particular data analytics industry, you have some sub roles that you can as well assume, right? Some people are business intelligence analysts. Some people are marketing data analysts. Some people are sales analysts, right? Some people could also be database administrators, right? They are all within the data analyst industry, right? And so many others. Some people could be health analysts as well, as we could see that we have rising analysts within the NHS system as well today. We also have those that are data scientists, right? These are people that go into the nitty-gritties of training machine learning models, working on different algorithms, trying to do some predictive analysis. I call them the bigger boys or the bigger girls. They earn more money, obviously. And yeah, today in the UK, they have a median salary of 67K, right? A good data scientist, who trains machine learning models, fine tune in 2025 now, you also have data scientists fine-tuning large language models, and all of this, and they get more money, right? Basically. So you have within this industry, you have those that specialize in machine learning as machine learning engineers. Some people are AI specialists, right? Just like I mentioned, some people are research data scientists and the like, So yeah, then we have the third category of people within the data space who are the data engineers, right? And the data engineers are, quite critical in every data team, to be honest. I don't know why the UK doesn't reward them that much, but yeah, they earn from 50K to 90K, depending on the industry and as well depending on your years of experience, right? So you hear things like I'm an ETL developer, I'm a cloud engineer, I'm a data pipeline engineer, big data analytics, big data engineering, and all of those things, right? I love data engineering. I don't know why a lot of people don't. Do we have any data engineer in the house today? Just give me a thumbs up for data engineering. Or at least you're enthusiastic about it. Nobody. Interesting. So we have more data analysts, I guess. Data analysts in the house. And give me a thumbs up if you're a data analyst. You're getting started, you're already experienced. Okay, heritage. What role do you assume heritage? Can you hear me, heritage?
There you are. Sorry. Uh,
Yes.
I did data analysis actually, data science anyway, but I didn't dive deep, you know. But I do more of networking and cloud. So, yeah.
So your 10 years of experience is around networking, I guess.
Networking and cybersecurity actually.
Oh, interesting. Right.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay. So you're looking to transition basically. I'd assume.
Well, it's not bad, but I don't know. I'm just actually this is my first time of joining your section. You know, I was like, let me listen because I've been reading one or two messages, platform actually.
Okay.
So, and I just came in. I was like, the meeting is about to start around 8 o'clock. Let me just post in. I later know that noticed that it was data analysis, what data science they are going to talk about, which is not bad. But I do more of networking and cybersecurity actually. But it's okay.
Yeah, so yeah,
It's okay.
absolutely
Please,
not.
no. Is that what?
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. Heritage.
Okay. No knowledge is lost. At least I am still part of it. To the field, but so that they don't go deeper as others might, just because it's a section on its own. So why cybersecurity and networking is another section. So I don't want to mix too much, but at least I can see gain one or two things from what you are saying. So it's not a bad thing to be the meeting. Maybe when we talk about my outfit too, I will be here too. So thank you.
Interesting. Yeah, so it's great to hear that you have quite some experience in cybersecurity. And yes, we do cater for cybersecurity specialists here at Amdari. As well, yeah, unfortunately today we are talking more about data. But yeah, it's we'll get you on those specific program for data for cybersecurity, and basically I'm sure the handler would direct you to the right channel. But yeah, just like you said, we're learning how to land jobs in the UK. So yeah, these are tips and tricks that applies to virtually all roles basically. Somebody's hands up. Go ahead. Was that they have? Okay, let me see if this is that.
Okay, good evening. Sorry, my name is Ifediora.
Good evening. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. I appreciate what you're doing, and I'm glad to be in your midst. But from the look of things, it looks like I'm in the wrong session because my my line of profession is not data. I am into project management. Actually, I've worked as an operations manager for quite a number of years in Nigeria before migrating to the UK. Currently, I'm doing my master's degree here in the UK as well, and I was hoping to enroll into a program that will accelerate my chances of getting meaningful or good employment in that line of work, and also getting the visa sponsorship that I require after my graduation. But this session looks like it's talking about the data analytics and stuff. So I guess I'm in the wrong space. Am I wrong?
Yeah, I didn't quite catch what you said you were studying.
Project management.
Okay, project management. Oh, interesting. Yeah. So before I answer, yeah, apologies. Yeah, so I said before I go ahead to take that, Omomi, do you want to speak?
Yes,
You should
yes,
have.
thank you.
Okay, great.
All right. Hi, Ifedira. Thanks for joining us. So, yes, this session is specifically speaking to those in data, but it doesn't mean Amdari doesn't have project management related um, internship experience for you. So, this is what I would suggest and advise. You can book a clarity call with us, right? Or one of my colleagues can reach out to you to give you a better breakdown of the project management program at Amdari and how you can also take advantage of the internship program that we have for that. But we definitely have stuff around project management. This session in particular, the one happening today, is just speaking to project management. But we have, sorry, it's just speaking to data. But we have one coming up this Saturday also that you can actually register for. So my colleague has been dropping some links for you to fill the attendance form. So we can use that to reach out to you by tomorrow, just to remind you, because this session is going to happen on Saturday. So you might want to join. And if it's a one-on-one conversation you want to have with us also, you definitely have that. And she has just dropped the link for you to book that one-on-one. So either ways, you either fill the form for attendance, we would still be able to reach you, or you use this booking link to speak to us on, in a more closed up manner. So you can pick any of the options. Either ways, like I said, you'll still be able to speak to us, and we can address other things that relates to project management. Last week's session, I think we covered project management, but this week it's just covering data analytics. So that's why. But in general, you're not in the wrong space, but this topic, this session is just, not for your domain. I don't know. Did I answer your question? Are you clear now?
Okay, thank you so much, Omawumi. I got what you're saying. So I'll go to the WhatsApp group to
Yeah.
fill in the form from the links, right?
Okay, yes. So my colleague will drop it
For the
again.
Saturday
So
session.
yes, please. Yes, please.
Okay. Thank you so much.
All
I
right. You can
appreciate
also
it.
use the links. It's right here from this chat, so you don't miss it. So you can also use this one.
The link, okay, from
Yeah,
where?
it's in this chat right here. Like on this call, we've been dropping the links. I don't know. Can you see it? If you check the chat. Yeah.
Okay. Let me go to the chat.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, thanks, Omomi. I think this should be quite helpful for Heritage as well. Heritage is the cybersecurity specialist. So Heritage, you might be quite
Yes,
interested in
please.
filling that form. So you could book yourself a one-on-one clarity call.
Yeah. So Heritage, just the same way I responded to Ifedira, right? Cybersecurity session is also separate. So this one is just for data domain. But the one we are having on Saturday is going to, address everyone. And beyond that, if you want a more closed door, conversation with us, there is also the one-on-one clarity booking. So that one is pretty much just, fewer people, and we just address your own concerns straight to the point. So you can either book the one-on-one session, or you can also join the Saturday session. But both of them are going to be helpful. All right, Mohammed, you can go on. Sorry.
Okay, great. So yeah, I think thanks so much for that clarification. Yeah, so just like I said earlier, we're exploring some of the high demand roles in data today, and we did talk about data analytics. We talked about data science and as well data engineering, right? We have two other roles that are quite booming today. Um, one which is business intelligence analyst, all right? For some of you, they call them BI developers. These are the guys that actually take charge of, those beautiful insights, data communication to stakeholders. They build all of the visuals on some of these BI tools, Power BI, Tableau, and even the open source BI tool like Metabase, Superset, and the likes. So we have business intelligence analysts. These guys are specialized in that. So you have BI developers, Power BI developers, business data analysts and all. So yeah. Then lastly, we have healthcare data analysts. Right? So for those of us who work within the health space, right, this is quite an opportunity for you to pivot or transition into data without having to lose your domain expertise, right? So you already have a domain expertise within the health industry. So you could be a clinical researcher, you could be a health informant, right? You could be a medical doctor and even a nurse within the health space, right? But it's quite easy for you to transition into data because every industry today is powered by data, and having someone who has a domain knowledge, to explore data within that domain is quite critical today. That's why you see healthcare centers, health organizations, governmental health organizations recruiting a lot of healthcare data analysts today, basically. So yeah, if you are within the health space, the NHS space, you could explore some of these roles, right? Health information analyst, a clinical data analyst, we have also NHS data analyst and as well medical data analyst, right? Depending on what domain you have more expertise on. Right? Then, yeah, so these are most of the high demand roles that we have today. So before we go, Yusuf, if you have a question, let's quickly take your question before we move on. How's it going, Yusuf? Go ahead, speak. Okay, Yusuf, are you there? I can't hear you. You're muted. We are speaking.
Oh, sorry. Good evening, everyone. My
Yeah, good
name
evening.
is
How are you doing today?
Yusuf. Yeah, I'm fine. Thank you very much. Sorry to stop you. Actually, I'm just like every other people that just mentioned about their career recently regarding what they are doing and why they are here. Someone like me, actually, I have knowledge in cybersecurity and also in data analysis. What actually happened is that, here in UK, we have been struggling to transit into IT. So personally, I've been trying to do different things. Like if this one is not working, we move to another one. This one is not working. Okay, today they will say, "Oh, they are taking data analyst. Tomorrow they are taking cybersecurity." We are just trying to look for a better opportunity. So while doing this, I've come across different trainings And during this time, I have done cybersecurity training and I have done data analysis training as well. So I think the reason why I'm actually here is that I'm looking for a way to match these two things together. Like I had someone, you can be a data analyst and data analyst in cybersecurity, just like the one you just mentioned, and like healthcare data analyst. So like a cybersecurity data analyst as well. So I wanted to know if you do something like this, so so that I will know if I'm in the right place. Thank you very much.
Yeah, so interesting. Yeah, so I was about to say, oh, probably you want to explore the cybersecurity cohort, but yeah, for someone like you, um, what I would advise is having to do an evaluation of um, where you have the most domain experience at as we speak. Do you have the most domain experience within the cybersecurity space before you started delving into data analytics, or was it data analytics before cybersecurity?
Actually, the most is in cybersecurity because I've been doing that for a very long time, and I've done IT support. That's what I used to do back in Nigeria before coming here. So let me say my knowledge and my experience in cybersecurity is higher than the data analysis aspect, and I've done some certification as well in cybersecurity. So if I'm to put it in terms of percentage, I can say that my cybersecurity is 70%, while the data analysis is 30%.
Okay, great. So I so it's safe to say that your basic what's it called, your domain knowledge is actually in cybersecurity, which is quite interesting. So for you, the advice in transitioning into data analyst, because I can understand the frustration in having to um, um, merge which of the roles should I assume. Most times when you see a data analyst role, you might want to apply. And when you also see a cybersecurity role, you might want to apply as well.
Exactly,
So for
exactly.
yeah, so I would
Even up to now,
advise
I
that
apply for everything.
you merge, and this is how you are going to merge it. So merging the both is you having a cybersecurity domain expertise, which you already have, right? So what you're doing now is that you're trying to transition into analytics, right? But maintaining your cybersecurity domain expertise. So we have different roles actually that I've come across different roles. And these are mostly roles in larger organizations. When you have security data analyst, you have things like threat intelligence analyst, or a very popular one, which most people underrate, is like the fraud detection. Not really most people underrate it. It's something that people don't know that it's you have more chances when you have the cybersecurity domain expertise. Is fraud detection analyst. And to be very honest, especially in the finance industry today, um, that role is boomingly hot, basically because a lot of financial systems today, a lot of banking groups today um, are having this particular issue. And this issue is risk mitigation in transactions, right? So places like the UK had actually recorded as high as 10 million um, pounds lost in fraud transactions. Basically, a lot of people are complaining about fraudulent alerts and all of those. And for institutions like that to be able to mitigate these sort of issues, they need to start employing a lot of fraud detection engines, right? And we all know that fraud detection engine can be built using some data science tools, and they could also be investigated using analytical tools. So it's a two-way street, right? You have fraud, right, which is the major issue. And as an analyst, you can investigate and give insight about what's going on within transactions, right? What are the risks factors in transactions, right? What are the compliances, the security compliances when it comes to transactions? For people that are quite familiar with banks here in Nigeria, you have what we call the anti-monitoring and laundering, CBN rule, right? These rules are the rules that are governing what a transaction should look like in a healthy condition, right? So anything outside that particular rule, you do need an analyst or you need a data scientist that will be able to implement all of these risk factors into a fraud detection engine. So this is where you shine because you do already have cybersecurity domain knowledge, and you can even write more risk factor rules. Right? So these risk factor rules are not things that you just get out of anywhere. These are rules that are actually being coined by the security team, the cybersecurity team, and being given to the data analyst to implement in their algorithm. So this is a win-win for you, to be honest. And I do believe that you thrive better within any industry, but particularly today in 2025 in the finance industry or fintech or digital banking, as it could be. So yeah, fraud detection analyst or a security analyst, data analyst.
Okay,
That should be
thank you
the
very
role you
much.
should assume now.
So what
You don't
what
need
would
to
be
do
your
this now, but
advice? Should I go for
yeah.
the cybersecurity internship or this one?
Since you have 30% of data analytics, I would suggest you come in with a data analytic work experience. So it gives you more exposure to working with real financial data from real companies, real digital banking companies, work with their data, identify threats, in transactions, and all of those. It helps you utilize your already existing domain knowledge in the data field. So I would advise you opt in for the data analytics work experience program.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you.
You're welcome. Hey, yeah. So just like Yusuf did ask, I know for most of us here, we might be in a particular industry and we are trying to transition, basically. And so transitioning doesn't entirely mean that you are dropping all your existing domain expertise and moving to a new industry, right? Transitioning literally just means that you are maintaining your domain expertise, but you are incorporating or you're infusing, technology into it. And today we know data thrives in all industries, right? It could be in any industry. It could be mechatronics. It could be engineering, right? It could be healthcare. It could be cybersecurity. It could be literally any industry. And you can transition into a data specialist in that industry while maintaining your domain expertise, right? So that's a quick myth I wanted to debunk that you don't necessarily have to drop your domain expertise just because you are transitioning into data. Data roles fit into all industries, basically. So yeah, moving ahead, we have explored all of these high demand roles. We understand how these roles work, from being a data analyst to being a healthcare data analyst to being a data engineer, right? And yeah, now that we know that these roles actually exist, right? What do we do next? What happens next, right? The most important thing is now how to identify those ones that would actually provide you with the visa sponsorship, right? For most of us, I believe that's our pain point, right? Not just getting a job, but getting a job that provides visa sponsorship to you, right? You now know all the rules. Now let's search for those rules and filter those ones that are going to give you job sponsorship. One thing you guys should understand is the method of you searching for job in last year or last 2 years is not the same as the method you use in searching for job today in the market, right? One quick tip is the fact that the market today is not saturated. I know a lot of people are saying, oh, we don't find jobs, we don't get to see job. The market is not saturated. The market seems difficult because the stakes are higher now, right? Recruiters or companies are looking for people that can do not just the job, but that can do more, right? So you need to be quite strategic in the way you position yourself to apply for these jobs, right? So identifying jobs with visa sponsorship could be a tough one, but not necessarily a tough one because there are actually strategies around achieving that. And what are the strategies, right? So today we'll be exploring, 3 out of the many strategies, using spotting a visa sponsorship opportunity, right? And some of these methods might be methods that you might have heard about and are probably wondering if they still work, or these are methods that you probably have not heard about before today, right? So one of which is the government sponsored list, right? So people say, oh, how do I know a particular job is providing sponsorship? You go on LinkedIn, for example, right? And you see so many jobs: data analyst, data scientist, data engineering. And so many of these jobs have different requirements, different stipulations. Some says, oh, it's remote. Some says it's hybrid. Some says you have to be in the country, right? Different requirements for different jobs. Well, how do you filter these particular ones that sponsor your visa? Number one method is the government sponsors list, just like I said. And in the UK, for example, you have the UK government sponsored registry, right? You can find that on gov.uk, right? You literally have a list of all sponsors, all organizations that are licensed as sponsors in the UK. What that means basically is that this particular list of sponsors usually sponsor individuals year on year to stay in the UK. So it's just very strategic of you not to spend so much time on applying for random jobs you see on other platforms, but having to be specific and having to target those particular ones that sponsor, right? You might not want to spend so much time in applying for those ones that might not sponsor your visa. So go to where you would find the ones that sponsor, right? Is as straightforward as that, right? I want a sponsorship job. I need to go to where I can find this sponsorship job. And one of the places you can find these sponsorship jobs in the UK is having to get it from the UK sponsored list, where you see those companies that the UK had actually licensed to give you job sponsorship, right? So, and the trick behind that is get those lists. Then after getting those lists, you can then specifically apply for those jobs, right? Directly to those employers. It saves you a lot of time having to randomly apply for jobs, and it takes you straight to the point, right? So we have the gov.uk. It's a website where you can find all license sponsored, basically. I know it seems like a tedious work already, where you have to go search for the sponsors, and have to as well apply for those jobs directly on their website. But I would like us to stick with the community, as we would be coming up with another webinar soon, where we'd walk us through how to automate all of this process easily, right? Just like I did mention, there are easy ways or workflows, in 2025 where you make your job search quite easy. I was scrolling on LinkedIn one day and I saw somebody built an AI agent that does all of this together, right? And it's quite open source. For those that are quite technical, you know what I mean. Something you can run locally on your app or a computer where you can feed this particular AI agent your applications. It helps you search for those particular jobs that you need that require sponsorship, and it helps you send those applications and helps you actually list out all of those um, license sponsored in a curated list so that you can follow up at the end of the day. So that's quite an easy thing. So yeah, coming up in our upcoming webinar would have like a demonstration of how that works and how people in the direct community can actually leverage on some of these automation processes that saves you time, right? So instead of having to search for all licensed sponsored organization one after the other and having to send applications to them one after the other, you could do this in an automated process where you can manage the automation workflow basically. And not to worry whether you're technical or you're non-technical, these are processes that you can easily implement within a few minutes or few hours basically. So that's method one, right? So the second method is job board indicators, right? So what I mean by job board indicators is for some jobs that are being randomly posted out there on the different sites that we know. We know of LinkedIn, we know of Indeed, we know of Glassdoor, and so many other websites out there that we regularly use to apply for jobs. Some job descriptions actually come specifically that it has a visa sponsorship, right? Or it tells you that the right to work in the UK is not required. And several phrases that you might see that serves as indicators that this particular job is a sponsored job, right? So if you've had quite some experience on LinkedIn, for example, I know quite a number of jobs that puts this within their job description to say, oh, this job offers sponsorship or might offer sponsorship. Or you see things that quite common. They say it's a tier 2 sponsored considered, right? I usually see this phrase most of the time. So these are phrases that you need to watch out for when you're your individual job boards, Glassdoor, LinkedIn, or as well Indeed, basically, right? So just like I would also reiterate, yeah, just like I'll also reiterate, right? These are things that you need to put in place when you're searching for jobs, basically. So yeah, moving forward, the third method we have here in spotting or identifying visa sponsorship jobs is through company research, right? You might want to have to do the work by researching companies, right? How do you know what company to research? We already talked about the first method where you have a sponsored list, right? And on this list, you already have the companies you might want to research. Pick up just one and do a company research on it, right? Some of the ones that, we've done previously in the past for several consultants here at Dari is one of which is the NHS Trust, right? It has like the highest sponsorship rate today. So it's easy for us to do company research, and understand how these companies, are posting out, openings on their actual website, right? So sometimes you might not see this job postings on LinkedIn or Indeed, you might as well see them on the company's website, right? We also have this group of companies that actually do sponsor visas, the big four, right? The big four consulting companies. Most of us have heard about them. Like you have Deloitte, you have PwC, EY, and KPMG. These are companies that regularly sponsor visas time upon time, right? We also have some tech-enabled companies, right? Like Monzo, we have Revolut, as well, that offer sponsorship, basically, right? So just like I mentioned earlier, right? These are ways that you can sponsor or you can actually identify visa sponsorship jobs easily while you are doing your search. So the first method is the government list, governmental UK sponsor list. You have, looking out for job indicators on doing your job search. Look for indicators like sponsorship available, you know, things like this particular one, they call it the tier 2 sponsored considered. These are things you quite see sometimes, especially on Glassdoor. And yeah, the third method is, doing the actual company research, and targeting some of these popular companies that actually do sponsor visa, right? The barriers for entering these companies are not, that difficult as we might assume them to be. I know for some of us, you might be saying, oh, it's the big four, it's Deloitte. Who's going to hire me at Deloitte? Trust me, when you have a good positioning strategy, you get hired at Deloitte. If you have a good positioning strategy, you get hired at PwC. So these are strategic ways that we help consultants here at Amdari to identify sponsored jobs. Trust me, we have an employability team that's, is quite, they are experts in not just identifying these sponsorship jobs for you, but help you prepare for the job market, through CV optimization, LinkedIn optimization, and all of those, right? Basically. So yeah, before we go ahead, just a bit of red flags to avoid when you are trying to identify these jobs that would sponsor your visa, right? So there are some phrases that when you see them, there are things to sort of avoid. They are red flags, basically. And one of which is you will see things like must have a right to work in the UK, right? So when you see phrases like this, what that means is that there's 99.9% that this particular employer is not ready to sponsor your visa, right? You see things like UK passport holders only or no visa. Some people explicitly mention that there are no visa sponsorship, within their job descriptions, right? And whenever we see phrases like this, it's quite okay for us to avoid this if your primary aim is to get a sponsorship job, basically. Tommy Lola, you have a question. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know if you allow me ask a question based
Yeah,
on
sure.
most of the experiences, or let me use the word restrictions my husband has kind of experienced, not with NHS jobs this time around. There are some jobs that they would indicate stuff like, let me see, yeah, must have active enhanced DV clearance. And there are roles, data scientist roles with salary range of 45K to 95K. But the first requirement is always must have active enhanced DV West clearance. I don't know if you want me to share an example of this job, maybe post it on the chat for you to see. I can copy. Yeah, I just pasted one on LinkedIn to the chat box right now.
No, okay. Yeah, so I
Yeah.
think oh okay, I just saw this. This is quite rare.
Yeah, so because I have had to we've had that conversations a lot, and whenever we see active clearance and all of that, I sort of read a little about that, and I realized that okay, you need to have be in the country for I think minimum of 3 to 5 years before you can get
Yeah,
that
so
clearance and all of
for
that.
for
Yeah.
that, that actually looks like an obvious red flag, most definitely. So, and this is quite rare, but from all indication, it suggests that you have had. So this doesn't apply to most of us who probably have not had that amount of years of experience in the country working within this space. So that would not be applicable to most of
All
us
right. Thank you.
years ago. And most definitely, you have, if they are saying 3 to 4 years experience within the country, I don't think they want to sponsor. Francis, do you have anything to say about that?
Yeah, just an add-on. I've also seen some that say that you must have SC clearance. So SC clearance means that's maybe just for the British or what? Yeah, that's
Yes.
also a red flag. Yeah.
Yeah, that's also a red flag actually. So
Yeah.
those SC clearance and this one that Tommy actually sent, these are obvious red flags, to be honest. They do not want to sponsor you. So they are putting a barrier to entry already, saying that you have to have an SC clearance, you have to have worked like 3 to 4 years within the country. So they do not want to take that responsibility of sponsoring the visa. So these are actually obvious red flags
For a
for
country that
that.
for a country that preaches diversity and inclusion, yada 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 yada. I feel that's
Yeah,
really bad.
yes. So I think some of these hidden narratives are being scattered here and there. You get to see these sort of things that goes against what they preach. But yes, we do understand that this what would I call it now? What's the word? Let's say sort of nepotism that goes on within the industry. Actually surfaces within even job applications sometimes. It's quite rare, but yeah, just like we can see, it happens, right? So these are obvious red flags that we need to avoid when we are looking at this. So most times I spend time, what's it called, looking at the job descriptions. Basically, I know for most of us it's quite easy to just want to swipe, but we are quite serious about getting visa sponsorship jobs. You need to do like a lot of research and spend time looking at the kind of jobs you're applying for. So this period, you are not applying for just any job, but you are applying for jobs that are specific to a particular need. So yeah, just like I said earlier, we are cooking up something quite interesting that helps us navigate this whole process. It's a lot of process, and to be honest, it takes a lot of time, right? And that's why here at Amdari, we have a dedicated employability team that helps you do that, helps you navigate how to target those specific what's it called, organizations and companies in on time without having to go through that entire process. Yeah, Francis, you wanted to say something next?
Yeah, just an add-on also to my colleagues. I think the best thing to beat these guys is just be good at what you do. If it's a skill, be good to the top level. So they'll have no choice. Yeah, if it's sponsorship, if
Yeah,
you are right,
absolutely. They do not have the
just
choice.
be good in everything. Just be at the top. That's where you'll beat these guys. If it's a skill, be good at your skill. Data science, be good. Data analysis, be good. Thank you.
True. That's absolutely profound, Francis. Yeah. Just like Francis said, you need to be very good at what you do. And just to add to that, be so good that you cannot be ignored, right? So that's where positioning comes into play, right? Because you need to position yourself properly. I mentioned this earlier. I said some people that even have less qualifications or number of years of experience are getting jobs, in 2025 even faster than people that are quite experienced. And what's the difference between these two people? Is positioning, to be honest, right? Just like every product out there, if you own a product, you have a service, right? And you want to market that service. If you don't sell that service to your end consumer, they wouldn't know about the product, right? If you have a particular product you want to sell, if you do not sell it properly, nobody will know that exists, right? So same thing within the job market. If you do not sell yourself, if you do not position yourself properly, these guys or these employers would not know that you exist. So that's the key factor behind having to, get all of these things. And just like Francis said as well, be so good that nobody would want to ignore you, right? Basically. Right. So yeah. Moving on from that quickly, we've spent quite some time already. So yeah, moving on from that quickly, we already know that the data market is actually exploding already, right? Just like I said earlier, we have tons of available job vacancies, basically, like close to 1 million job vacancies. But it's quite unfortunate when we still struggle to get those jobs, right? We know what the median salaries are for some of these jobs. It's quite juicy, right? But let's keep that for now and understand how to get there first, right? So for data analysts, just a quick reminder, we have like 49K. For data scientists, it's as high as 67. And yeah, there's a survey that the NHS, sponsors more individuals in the UK, more than any other industry, right? So yeah, good news for those within the health. But however, there are few other industries that sponsor visas. Yeah, you just have to have a good positioning strategy, and yeah, put yourself out there, and you'll get those jobs most definitely, right? So, moving forward from that, just a quick success story. We've been talking about some of the data roles. We already we've talked about the median salaries that you could earn as a data personnel here in the UK. Yeah, at Amdari, we've actually helped a lot of people navigate all of these complexities, all of these issues, basically. So I'll give a quick testimonial about Judith. Judith was someone that joined Amdari in January, so it's the most recent success story. So Judith, was a carer. She worked as a carer, and she actually had an HR background, in Nigeria, close to 7 years plus experience. And yeah, she was able to do a data work experience program where she was, being exposed to real world data engineering problems, right? At the time, she worked on real world projects from, actual companies. She was able to get that experience that she could use to leverage, right? So this was Judith's journey, basically. She worked as a carer. She had an HR background back then in Nigeria, and she was able to transition into data engineering. Basically, yeah, she had the opportunity to. Okay, can't see my slide. Can you still see my slide? Who else can't see my slide before I go ahead? Sorry about that. If you can see my slide, just drop me a thumbs up so I'll know that. Okay, great. Oh, so I think that could be a network glitch from your end. Okay, great. So yeah, so Judith had the opportunity as well to be HR analyst, data analyst within her domain, but she decided to completely transition into data engineering. She got into our data engineering cohort in January, and yeah, she was able to navigate, that problem of not getting a role, and she eventually got a role. Judith was able to get the 65K data engineering role. Just like I mentioned earlier, for those that listened to me, I did mention that data engineering is a hot role. I don't know why most people are not talking about it. And yeah, in other countries like the UK, the US rather, they pay even way higher for data engineers. They are almost like the backbone of any data team today. Yeah, so she got a 65K data engineering role for actually a US company, to be honest. And yeah, she worked remotely. Yeah, at that. And how was she able to do this? Basically, would walk you guys through all that Judy did, for her to be able to do that, major transition. Just like I said, it was a major transition from HR to data engineering. She had the options to do HR data analytics, and even data analytics, but she did decide to do a data engineering. And here's what data engineering got for. She did. Yeah, someone's hands was up. Get start. Okay, great. So yeah, that was the breakthrough of Judith, and this happened in April 2025. Judith came into Amdari January. Yeah, as at April, Judith was able to land a particular role, right? So now, most importantly, what did Judith do to get this role? Is what is quite important here. I know I've been mentioning this quite often, and I've been saying that positioning is very important, right? In your job search, and even in the job market today in 2025, if you do not position yourself properly, there are several chances that wouldn't get those calls. You wouldn't even get an interview. And most importantly, for most people on the call today, the idea is to get multiple interviews, right? Multiple interviews. The moment you get to that stage of getting the interviews, it's quite easy for you to navigate your way to getting an offer. Why? Basically because most definitely you're going to go to that interview prepped, right? To ace it. Yeah, interviews has a lot of preparation that goes with them, right? So getting those interviews is the major problem, right, within the whole process. So you submit your resume. After submitting your resume, you get screened. And after getting screened, you get called for an interview, right? But most people don't get calls, basically because it's either their resume gets kicked out easily. And, we have automated tracking systems today, like the ATS machines, that kicks out people's resume, right? So the question is not about your skills or not about your experience, to be honest. I've applied, even me myself, I've applied for several jobs in the past where I get rejected. And at a point, I did ask myself, oh, is it about my experience? Is it that I'm not technically sound in some of the tools? Well, I later discovered that I was doing a lot of things wrong with my applications, right? And that's probably the reason why my applications are being flagged off, the criteria, right? And some of the tricks around it is the fact that companies do have ATS systems. These ATS systems, just think of them as robots that scans thousands of applicants' interviews, right, when they come. And guess what? They read out as high as 70% of applicants' resume out of the process, and only takes 30% the hiring manager. And when it gets to the hiring manager, it gets further filtered into, I think, 10% of applicants before you get a scheduled interview. You can see that the process or the system is sort of broken already. What's giving the assurance that your CV today or your resume today will pass through the ATS system, will pass through all those filtering process and get an interview? Right? That is where this positioning comes into play, because you need to do those things that the ATS system wouldn't catch, or those things that the ATS system wouldn't filter you out, right? So what Judith did basically at the time, just like I mentioned, she had an HR experience, and what she exactly did was build real world projects, right? Just like I said, the Amdari work experience program provides you with that experience, right? And that experience involves you working on real world projects from real world organizations, right? Amdari can vouch for you that you had a work experience after working on this project, right? So Judith, built a healthcare data pipeline, right? Which was quite profound at the time. She wasn't just building basic ETL systems. She was building, end-to-end ETL pipelines that were scalable, pipelines that were hosted on cloud services, pipelines that could be easily managed, and being able to extract data from multiple sources, right, at the time. So Judith worked on a very, interesting end-to-end data pipeline project, leveraging on healthcare data, right? Delivering healthcare data for analysis, not just in a batch mode, but in a real-time processing mode. And these are hot topics, these are hot concepts rather, or hot tools that recruiters today want to see, right? The reason why you're not getting those calls is because some of the projects you have on your resume are vague projects. They are just basic projects you probably might have replicated on YouTube or from a particular boot camp and all of those. They don't solve a real business problem. I could tell you for free that I can examine your GitHub repository and tell you if your project will fly in the market or it wouldn't fly, because there are some few ingredients that makes up a strong portfolio, and these are real world projects, right? I could easily spot that out across data analytics, data engineering, as well as data science. Just shoot me your portfolio, right? And for those that might want me to help you with that, you can drop in your GitHub repositories. I can give you like a quick assessment on, how to vamp that up, basically, and all of those. So that was the first thing Judith did. Judith had like a GitHub with, real world production ready projects, right? And these are projects that, just looking at the README file, you could see all the step-by-step process Judith took in building a pipeline, both the architectural overview of our pipeline, the business problem, and the solution, to this were all itemized in our GitHub. Strong GitHub, production ready code. And these are codes that were live on some of the cloud platform, AWS, GCP, and the likes, right? So that was what Judy did in terms of our portfolio and our project. The last two things she did was a professional LinkedIn page, right? Just like I said earlier, positioning is key. And what's the right place to position yourself as a skilled professional today? LinkedIn, right? You can build in public while you're working on a project or while you're learning something. You can share on LinkedIn, you can build in public. This builds up your connection. And you don't know who is watching. Anybody can literally be on your LinkedIn today and offer you a role. I've been offered multiple roles via LinkedIn alone, and I didn't get to apply for them, right? Just because I was on LinkedIn and I was quite engaging with the platform. Right? I know it's quite sometimes now I've not optimized my LinkedIn, but yes, I've had times during when I was actively searching for jobs where I get jobs being offered to me, several jobs via my DM, and I schedule an interview, right? And these are jobs that 1,000 people are out there applying for and hoping their CV gets interviews. And I get mine directly from the hiring manager on LinkedIn. So these are things that the employability team does for you, on LinkedIn, give you a proper optimized LinkedIn profile, right? And lastly, what we did for Judith was work reference, right? Just like I said, we could vouch for you here at Amdari that you have the UK work experience. So yes, that work reference is part of the things that we do offer, apart from positioning you strongly for the market, giving you real world projects to work on, basically as well, right? So you can see an example on the screen of what a proper optimized LinkedIn headline looks like, right? Senior data engineer, machine learning, AWS. So, helping companies build scalable data solutions. These are one-liners that recruiters see on your LinkedIn and they want to send you a DM and they're like, oh, hey, this person is helping companies scale data solutions. I want my company to be scaled as well, right? But I know for most of us, we just put so many things on our LinkedIn. These are strategies. These are positioning strategies that you need to do to take your LinkedIn page from 0 to 100. So that's basically what Judith did. And yeah, we have other people within the system that have done the same thing. We have Pavel, who was a teacher in Cameroon at the time, and he got a role as a healthcare data analyst for 58K. We have Sharon as well. She got a business data analyst within the NHS as well. And two other people. We have this guy who got an operational manager. He was an operational manager, but he later got, a pathology data analyst, within the NHS. And just by, dedicating 4 months, from this particular program to enhance his whole portfolio, he was able to get that full visa sponsorship, right? So currently, we have a lot of people who helped land these roles, through this our system. And what's basically in the system, just like I've been mentioning earlier, it's just a 3-stage thing. First thing, we do an insider positioning. We know what the analysis of the UK job market is. We can transform your resumes or your CV to match this analysis, and we can optimize your profile both on LinkedIn and elsewhere, to match this analysis so that you'll be seen, right? Basically. Second stage is that we give you that real world experience, right? You're working on live client projects. You're not just working on a cargo data set or a Titanic data set or a CSV file from anywhere. You're working on data sets that were being pipelined to you through a database or an API endpoint from an actual company, right? And yes, this is real world data you're working with, and we equip you with all the skill sets that you need in order for you to work this by, we have a lot of specialists that will guide you through this, right? Then lastly, we have a portfolio that helps you showcase all of this work. Then the third step is, by the virtue of the experience by our founders, We have, direct contact with some hiring managers already in the UK, and you could be spotlighted and be chosen, basically, right? We have the employability team, just like I mentioned earlier, that could help you prepare for interviews and all the things that you need. And all of these things will help you navigate getting those visa sponsorship jobs, basically, right? So yeah, we've seen how Judith transitioned. We've seen how other people transition. We understand what the 3 steps are, basically, right? And yeah, with these 3 steps, trust me, you're on your way to getting these sponsorship jobs, right? So I think before I go to the last, talk about the last slide. Yeah, do we have any questions at this point? So we could entertain some more questions, basically, before we round it up. Yeah, $2 million. Great, go ahead.
Okay, I think I was actually waiting for the end because I was already feeling sleepy, but yeah. My question would be that was it, I don't know if I missed out on that, but what is the timeline for the internship? How long is it going to last?
Yeah, so
So
the work
the next
experience
cohort is in
program.
September. Yeah.
Yeah.
Since the next
Go
cohort is
ahead, go
starting in
ahead.
September, what is the
Yeah.
timeline? How long is the internship? And I think that's it basically.
Yeah, great. So currently we have the 4 months work experience program. Basically, that's how long it's going to take, right? Where
Okay.
yeah, you would work on this regular project, and as well alongside, you're going to be, positioned for the job market through the employability route, where your CV, your LinkedIn, your portfolio, all of these things are going to be done for you, guided as well. And yeah, most importantly, the 2 months you're going to be, or 3 months rather, you're going to be spending in building reward solutions. And this would not just enhance what you already know, but for those of you that are quite skeptical about, not having, the enough knowledge about some of these tracks, yes, we put you on, guided by our specialist, where they'll be able to give you like 247 mentorship on how to go about, getting started, working on projects, all the technical tools, the programming languages you might need to, get your projects on. Just like I would like to reiterate, it's a work experience. So we don't expect you to, we go straight to the point, right? To give you that work experience. So yes, that's what Diary is all about, right? To give you that
Yeah.
work internship experience that you can leverage on, while applying for jobs. So yeah.
So I feel so stupid right now. It was when I zoomed in that I could see that okay, the answer to my question was already there. Yeah.
That's there.
So let me just use the opportunity to ask another question. Using Judith as a case scenario, she was a carer, but she had about 10 years experience in the HR sector, so it was kind of easy for her to navigate through the systems and all. But my question to you is, for someone like me who has had diverse experience, like I've worked in different sectors, but if I'm going to narrow it down to like a a point, I would say I've had administrative roles for the past 6 to 7 years, and customer service and the likes of it. Yeah. And the question is, could someone like me start afresh, like literally afresh, in any of the data roles? do you think this 4 month timeline will be enough for me to kickstart and get to that point where I could be confident enough to um, put myself out there and say, yes, I am transitioning into data with a zero experience. I don't know if you zero
Yeah, I do
background in
understand.
tech. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Tamila, yes. For someone like you who is looking to do a total transition, so I'll relate that to Judith's experience at the time. Judith would have leveraged that domain expertise because she was in the HR industry before then, right? But what she did was the opposite, right? She transitioned completely, right? So what that means is that it correlates to what you're asking. She had zero experience, within that. And if you could remember, I did mention something earlier. I mean, transitioning doesn't necessarily mean you are starting afresh most of the time, right? Transitioning means just having to position what you already know with what you're about to know, right? So yeah, for somebody like you, um, you can get started, right? We have like accelerator programs that are quite different from the work experience program that you could join in. And yes, we will determine that for you. So what you will have to do is to book a one-on-one clarity call, um, where they would access, where you are currently, um, and suggest the best route for you. Yes, we have multiple programs um, that caters for that. So the accelerator program actually is like a life-led sessions that helps you to, that where specialists come into place to actually show you how things are done from the ground up, right? So you don't have experience, you're a beginner, we get started with you, on that note. And we take you up to working on projects from the ones that are beginner projects to intermediate and as well to advanced projects, right? Basically. And yes, while you are at it, even at the accelerator program, you are working on real world experience. So do not worry about that as well.
All right. You have I have the answer to my questions, and um it's a go from my hand. I guess the next is to fill the forms, and we'll be in touch. Thank you.
Okay, great, great,
And
absolutely.
yes,
Yeah,
I'll
so
pass this
hoping
also down to my husband, and I want to believe he would reach out as well. Thank you. Thank you so much
okay,
for this session.
you're welcome. I appreciate it. So hoping to see you as well soon. So yeah, Francis, yeah, before I go ahead with my last okay, Francis. Francis, I can't hear you. You're muted. You're speaking.
Um, I wanted to ask. I am trying. I'm a bit confused here. There is data analysis, data science, and business analysis. With me, I have a little background on. I've done a bit of data science where I handled the Python tools like NumPy, and then also did a bit of Power BI. But I see like data analysis, there are several sections there that one has to pick. If you come to data science, there are several sections one have to pick. If you come to Power BI or to business analysis, there's a several sections one has to pick. So I don't know. I'm quite torn apart to see. I don't know which track now to go to. So I don't know.
Okay.
Book a one-on-one and see where I'm gonna fit or what. So I don't know. I'm
Okay, great.
actually in
So
some confusion.
yeah. So just a quick one before then. just to clarify, we have several roles within the data track, right?
Yes.
Just
Yes.
like I mentioned earlier, I said we have the healthcare data analyst, we have those that data
Yeah.
scientists,
Yeah.
data
That's right.
engineers, business
Yeah.
intelligence, or BI developers, right? So now,
Yeah.
as a data analyst, right, or a data scientist, you said you had like quite some experience with data science before now.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, great. So having that experience within data science still requires you to make use of some of the tools that are also familiar with data analysts, like Power BI, Python, and all of those, right? So
Yes.
what I would say is, or what I would advise for you is to keep with the data science track, right? So
Okay.
one quick clarification is that most of these data roles that you see have quite some things in common. So when I say quite some things in common, quite some processes in common, quite some tools in common, and some concepts in common, right? But does it mean that their roles are the same? No, their roles are quite different, right, depending on the industry that you are or the organization that you are in, right? Basically. So as a data analyst, you might find yourself working with more of the BI tools, maybe Power BI, Tableau, right? Does it make you a BI developer? Well, partially, right? Right. But it does not entirely make you a BI developer because you do other things that a data analyst do, like maybe data modeling, right? Having to do proper analysis, exploratory data analysis, right? And all of those. These are things that BI developers might not be doing. BI developers might just be worried about creating their DAX formula and putting up all the necessary KPIs on their dashboard, right? But as well as data scientists, well, you might have situations where you work as a data scientist and the job requirement, requires you to work on visualization tools like Power BI too, right? That doesn't mean that you're a BI developer. It just means that the job requirement required you to do that particular thing, right? And it doesn't take you out of the data science context. So for you, since you already have some data science experience, I would suggest that you go ahead with data science because you need to then solidify your understanding on some of the key things a data science need to know, which are building models, training algorithms, and understanding the statistic and the mathematics behind how all of these models work, basically.
Okay.
So
Okay.
does that
Okay.
sound like
Yeah.
clarity for you?
Yeah. That one is clarified. But I will also book. I'll book an one-on-one
Yeah,
also for
so
more
I would also say
clarification.
suggest a
Yeah.
one-on-one clarity session. So this clarity session
Okay.
enables you to ask all of the questions that you want to ask. And we now give you a tailored what's it called, a tailored recommendation on which of the programs to join in and how to get started, right? Basically.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you for the help. Thank you.
All right, great. So lastly, guys, before we take our final rounds of questions, so we've been talking about this work experience so far. So for those of us that you know um, already have clarity on what they want to do, and as regards this, and want to take the next step, right? Can actually join our next cohort, which is actually starting on 6th of September. Right? But for those of us that still requires like a one-on-one clarity session, kindly please fill the form in the chat so we can schedule you on time to speak to you one-on-one on what program you need to, opt in for, basically, right? For our next cohort for this, work experience program, right? It's starting in September, right? September 6th specifically. And yeah, we have limited spot available. So I'd like us to indicate interest. We have some of the forms you can fill in the chat so we can guide you on how to get started. What you are gaining out of this basically is that we're giving you a 4 months experience, valuable UK work experience, and what you're literally paying for is a 3 months, 3 months worth of value basically, and we're giving 4 months worth of value, and we are paying for 3 months basically, right? So currently the full amount for the one-time payment for this program is £500, and for this particular quote, we're having a discounted price for £390, right? And yeah, this £390 can actually be paid in installments, right? So we have a flexible payment plan where you can have multiple installment payments, right, or options that are available to you once you make a request, basically. So yeah, for those of us that are quite interested in going ahead, those that already have clarity, you can now fill up the forms in the chat. And for those who still require clarity, they will also drop a form for us to schedule a one-on-one clarity call with you so we can help you move forward, basically. Okay, so do we have more questions around this, guys? We have more questions. See, assume that we are all clear, right? Do we need more clarity on what was discussed? Basically,